We are now live. Okay. I'm going to clear my throat here a little bit.
High definition phlegm.
I always kind of wonder if like someone like joins in like on the live video just to like see us like prep before this. Just like, let's talk about Star Wars. Okay.
That sounded like the little woman from SpongeBob that's like, chocolate.
I remember when they first invented chocolate. I always hated it.
She's just like a pile of dust in a wheelchair.
Yeah. God, that's like one of the best episodes.
True.
All right. You ready to start this thing?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome everyone to the Tosche Station, the Young Folks' official Star Wars podcast where we put the hype in hyperspace and we talk about the galaxy far, far away. We're your hosts. I'm Alex Suffolk.
And I'm Jordan Decker. And I bet you thought we ran out of Star Wars jokes, but Alex just proved me wrong and everybody else wrong about that. So we have an interesting podcast today. Tell them why it's an interesting one.
So, much to the jealousy of some of the people I know, I was fortunate enough to win a lottery through my job to see 30 minutes of Rogue One on Friday. So they showed us the first 7. I'll talk about what I can. They told us like Disney wants us to keep it pretty much under wraps, talk about our opinions and like our excitement, but don't talk about plot stuff. So I'm going to be as informative without releasing any actual information as I can here. So they showed us the first 17 minutes of Rogue One, and then they showed us another 10-minute clip later on in the film. And well, Jordan, it's fantastic. It's great. It was a lot of fun to watch. It really, I think, it doesn't really feel like Star Wars, and I mean that in like the best possible way. Like a lot of people wanted like a different type of movie with the anthology movies. People wanted something different in the Star Wars universe, and that if that's what you want out of Rogue One, you're getting exactly that with it. So it felt really like a war movie. There was a skirmish in one of the scenes that we saw, and it felt really sort of like gritty and like, that it felt like a war documentary. Like everything that they like set out and said, hey, we're doing this with this movie, they execute it perfectly. All the characters are great with just like the brief snippets that we saw. We got to see like a little bit. I got to see like a little bit of each one, and so they all have their own quirks about them that makes them great. God, I feel like I'm just fanboying out here, but K2SO, definitely my favorite. He's hilarious. Cassian Andor really surprised me. Without getting like too much into it, I always found if we're going to like the analogy I used was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I always sort of pegged Cassian Andor as like a Leonardo, and he appeared more like a Raphael. So take that as you will. And there are tons of Easter eggs throughout the movie. Or I think there's going to be. There was like I already caught like 2 or 3 in just the brief amount that I got to watch on like the first viewing. So definitely, this is one to rewatch over and over because there's definitely going to be little details like that all throughout it. The hype is real, guys.
I don't really watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Alex. Can you like explain a little bit what that means when you say those analogies?
Okay. So Leonardo I always thought Cassian Andor was much more of like the stuffy straight shooter leader. Like that's what I thought they were sort of building him up to be. And he's much more of a rebel in a sense. He's a little bit more of a hothead. He's a little bit more, have you played Mass Effect?
No, I haven't.
Okay, another analogy you won't get. He's more renegade than Paragon, but some people will get that. But yeah, he's a little more of a dirty Harry. How about that? Than I expected him to be.
Okay, sure. That's very cool. That I like all that stuff you just said without spoiling anything because, yeah, it seems to show well. Whatever bit of the movie they showed you, it's probably a fun bit, and the rest of it's probably similar in tone to that. I wanted to kind of ask you about the tone though, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
if you can comment on it, do you feel like you could see any of the negatives that people were worried about? Oh, like Disney's just going in there and they're changing the tone from this war thing that Gareth Edwards was trying to do into like the tone of A New Hope. Did you feel like that, or not at all?
No, not at all. It definitely feels much more gritty and real and depressing in a way. Like it really reminds you of like how I think just from the brief minutes I got of it, it really cements the idea that the Empire really is like strong, totalitarian, and terrifying, and the rebels are really this real ragtag bunch of people. They're disorganized and they are very much the underdogs, which I like. I like that they established that, because that retroactively it makes all the stuff that happens in A New Hope that much more like triumphant and crazy. Because really, the rebels are in like a poor state by the time you see them in Rogue One. And the only thing as far as like, oh, the tone, my girlfriend also got to watch the half hour with me, and she was a little worried that K2SO is a little like too funny. I personally think it's a good balance. I think he has sort of like the same sardonic humor that like the droids have. But I thought it worked out well. She thought he kind of came off like Baymax from Big Hero 6. And,
Okay.
sort of like that, like just very deadpan and saying the obvious, but in doing so, it's hilarious because it, contrasts with what's going on. So she was a little skeptical of him, but I loved it. I think they have a great balance. The tone is definitely, it skews towards the darker and the more gritty, at least from what I saw.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I always figured that would be the case, because even if it was all true, which it's not, every single rumor, let's just say they were all true, and Disney went in there and changed the tone and added all these jokes and corporatized it and made it a lot like A New Hope, blah, blah, blah. Just the fact that it's a story about smuggler rebels coming together to steal the Death Star plans would already make it very different than all the other Star Wars movies, which are about the Force in a lot of ways, and about a grander like spiritual struggle in addition to the war struggle. So, but yeah, it's really good to hear that, because I remember there was just weeks and weeks of different coming out from all different magazines about how the movie's doomed. 40% of it is being reshot. It's the vision of it is totally dead now. So yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, actually, I just saw like a tweet. I think someone tweeted at Pablo Hidalgo that 40% is like the buzzword number if you want to get people upset for no reason about like reshoots. It's like a totally fake number. Like I think they said 40% with Force Awakens too. Like that's the number that freaks people out, because it's almost half. But so yeah, it's fake. Whatever the reshoots did, it didn't muck with the vision of it too much, I think. It definitely still has that grittier vibe to it. And like obviously there are some moments of levity. Donnie Yen's character Chirrut is a little bit more lighthearted than I first imagined. I thought he'd be really serious. So he's a little more light, but like in a good way. It's believable. And it totally works. So like there are some bits of levity to it, but I think you need that. I think just having nothing but like a depressing, even like Empire Strikes Back and like the darkest one of them all still has its moments of fun and goofiness, and Star Wars always has that. It's a balance, and I think they really found it with Rogue One.
I was gonna ask you something, but I forgot what it was. Hold on.
It's okay. We can cut this part out.
I got it.
Okay, cool.
What were we just talking about?
We were just talking about the tone and Donnie Yen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember now.
Okay.
Alex, I forgot to ask you, but I will now. Did you see Saw Gerrera in this clip?
Oh God, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Not like in person. Let's say that. His presence is like that is sort of like he's going to be a pivotal character like from like the earlier parts of the movie, but I did not see him like standing there.
Okay.
I'm trying to be vague.
Cool. I know. I was just wondering because you said a lot of other characters that you like, and I wasn't sure if you weren't mentioning Saw because he was just like uninteresting to you, or because he wasn't really in it much.
Yeah, I didn't. He's obvious. He's like from what people like from some of the dialogue in the movie. He's a much more important character to this movie than I originally pegged him as. I thought he was sort of just like like the wild card that's going to be introduced later. But no, he's going to be like a running plot thread, I believe, from the way they seem to be setting things up. Um, yeah, I will talk about. I did see Orson Krennic though. I believe I can say that, and the Death Troopers, and they looked awesome. The Death Troopers, oh my god, just like subtle differences that really set them apart from the regular stormtroopers, which you see a lot of in this movie too. So you really get the just like the way they walk, they're much more like hunched over, and they look like they're walking with a greater purpose. And you know how like stormtroopers, when they talk, they have sort of like that like calm sound to it because it's like through a processor or a microphone or whatever. Well, like with the Death Troopers, they had the same thing, and it's even more garbled. Like it's even more like synthesized and whatever. They sound much more robotic. You can't even like understand them when they talk to each other. So they're definitely much more intimidating than the average stormtrooper, and I'm excited to see more of them.
Wow. Yeah, that I hadn't even considered that. I didn't think about what they were going to sound like. They just look scary enough from their costume design, but that'll probably freak me out too. And if they can hit the target that they're aiming for, they're already a cut above every stormtrooper that's from the 501st Legion.
Yeah, they seem much more effective from what I saw. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah. All right. When I see the movie, I'll probably like be like, I know what he's talking about now. We can we can talk spoilers then, of course.
Yeah, they hit a target. That's all I'll say.
I was gonna say a death trooper comes through your window and kills you from Disney.
I know. No, you just like watch my live stream as like a laser bolt hits me.
I was gonna ask, not even about the movie. What is the process like for going to one of these screenings? Like, who do you see there? And this was just from Facebook, right?
Yeah. So uh, I am a contingent worker at Facebook. So every once in a while, I get to go to some of the Facebook events or like some of the stuff they set up. And they made an event on Tuesday, and you could like sign up and you enter a code as a Facebook employee, and basically you got put in a lottery. And then they emailed you on like Thursday, and they said, hey, show up here. We have shuttles. We'll take you to this movie theater. And basically it was just like one movie, like one screen in the movie theater was just booked of Facebook employees. And they had to put our phones in envelopes to make sure that like nobody, starts recording stuff. And then, they just like, it was actually interesting. I have a picture of it, like when you go to a movie theater and they have like all the like the movie titles and like the red letters for each screen. For our screen, it just said Facebook. Like they were going to put up Rogue One sneak peek, but they just put up Facebook. So we knew where to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And then we got there, and some people walked out, and it was actually cool that they said, we usually say you're one of the firsts, but you guys literally are the first public audience to watch this right now. So that was really cool, being like, I did it.
Was there a representative from Disney there?
There were a couple of dudes in suits with Disney pins. Nobody like I recognized. It's not like Kathleen Kennedy walked out, but yeah, I mean, they had some Disney execs there to really watch it over. There was like these two podiums set up like toward the back of the theater that two dudes in like suits stood at the entire time, just like watching the audience for the slightest semblance of a phone screen. They're really serious about the leak stuff. Like they're on their stuff about it.
Did you have to sign something saying you wouldn't reveal anything, and if you did, they could like sue you?
Surprisingly, no. I kind of expected tons of NDAs and stuff. They kind of just sent an email like, "Hey, don't do this." I think as Facebook employees, you already have to sign a bunch of non-disclosure stuff, and so I guess Disney just trusts Facebook to have like similar standards with all things. So yeah, there wasn't as much paperwork as I thought there would. There wasn't any paperwork, even though I expected there to be. So that's actually nice. We just walk in and watch a movie.
Maybe they just assumed that your logic and common sense would make you think, if I reveal this every time I try to go to Disneyland, I might get not let in or bullied by the staff. they have like a picture of you up at the wall and stuff, and they're like,
Yeah,
bully this guy, send him to the back of the line when he's right about to get on California Screaming.
break down Indiana Jones right when you see him.
That's why it always breaks down.
Yes, we figured we cracked the case.
That's awesome though. Like, you're always going to be able to remember this now. Like, you're going to see the movie, you're going to think what you think of it, but you were told that you were among the first, if not the very first, actual people besides studio execs to watch a part of Rogue One.
Yeah. So it really felt sort of like an honor, and it's sort of surreal. Like, I was just sitting there watching the movie, and like that realization hit me. Like, I am like one of the first impressions of this movie, like, at all. Like, yeah, it's pretty mind blowing.
Really, Star Wars is going to be around for forever now, and they're going to start making probably multiple movies a year. And we've lived through the rebirth of Star Wars, so we'll always get to brag about that to future generations and be those old guys that won't shut up.
Mm-hmm. I remember when there were midichlorians.
Kids are like, "What does that mean?" You're like, I'll tell you later when you're older.
You don't want to know.
Remember how you used to grow up thinking that the Force was something that you could just believe it and do? Turns out it's a genetic thing, you assholes.
Couldn't be magic. Now it's pseudoscience, because that's better.
Great. Looking forward to it. Very cool that you got to do that, Alex. So our next segment is still about Rogue One, because we're not about to change topics right when the movie's just like 2 weeks away, maybe less.
Less than 2 weeks now.
Wow. And this is more just about things that we're looking forward to about the movie, things that we're worried about the movie, speculations, desires, questions, all of that good stuff. Has more basis for some of these opinions than me, because the asshole got to see the movie 30 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie. So mine are baseless. But all right, Alex, the first question here, we're going to ask each other, what are you looking forward to the most in the movie?
Well, there's obviously a lot to see, and but I think the biggest thing, like the one I've been imagining ever since that first trailer, is that big battle on Scarif on the beach with all the AT-AT walkers. I got even more excited for that after watching this first half hour, because in the first half hour, I got to see a bit of a skirmish, and it really sort of got that gritty war movie vibe to it. And so I think that's going to be even cooler to watch that on a bigger scale. This seems like the big climactic battle. And I really feel like this is going to be the most intense battle in any Star Wars movie. Because if you think about it, like, there's lots of big battles in Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, Empire Strikes Back, everything. And for a lot of them, there's not as much tension for the heroes, because we know, like, they're going to survive, they're going to press on, going to fight another day. It's not about the battle itself. It's about like what they're doing in the background of it, or how they're navigating it. Whereas with Rogue One, like, these aren't heroes. These are like the average soldiers that are running around, and we don't know what's going to end up with them. Lots of people are speculating they're going to die or like get, taken out in some way. And so I think this will be like just really like nail biting, like, armchair gripping, like, tense battle. I think it's going to be really interesting, just like to watch, like, the great carnage. The aesthetic of everything looks great. They really perfected that balance of taking the old looking stuff and making it modern looking with new technology. So I'm really excited for that battle. I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be the most intense battle since like the assault on Hoth. Just calling it now. But wow. Jordan, what are you looking forward to the most?
Really quick, I wanted to mention that your pick is two, because if you know Star Wars at all, you know that usually in Star Wars, every time that there's a battle with two factions shooting laser bolts at each other, a Jedi, or in the case of the prequel timeline, many Jedi with lightsabers running around, and it's never explained through their training, or I guess it is somewhat with those little probe droids, but they all can just casually single bolt that's shot at them. So when the clones are behind the Jedi, they're like, let Obi-Wan run forward because he knows where each of these shots are coming, and we will not get hit. We will never get hit. That's not a point of tension in the main trilogy movies, because for the most part we have characters that can block them, cannot get hit by throws of war. So yeah,
Exactly.
I'm excited for that too, for the same reason. My pick is Vader. Probably a very basic person pick, but let me explain why. I've been watching Star Wars Rebels lately. I'm almost caught up. I think I'm one episode behind. And the way that they handle him, specifically in season 2, because that's the only thing he's been in so far, it's handled with such care and such attention to detail, nuance, and for the character by Dave Filoni and everybody else involved. He's the showrunner. And Disney XD show, that's just for something that has a very niche audience, but they still got James Earl Jones. They still like tied his interaction with this character with like all of what happened in the Clone Wars before that, and struck a good balance between making Vader true to who he was as Anakin, true to who he will be in Return of the Jedi, and true to like the brutality, like how he was in A New Hope, where he's not really filled with emotions quite yet. He's more just the muscle, the intimidating force. Yeah, so I think the reason I'm most excited for him, it just comes from the fact that, unlike you, Alex, I haven't seen anything of the movie, and I'm just going in from the fans' perspective, where they're teasing me with Vader, and I'm wondering what they're going to do with him. I really hope, and I'm sure that once I walk out of the movie, I'm going to say that something else was the best, because Vader's probably not going to have that much screen time. I just don't know about that other stuff yet. There's not pre-existing characters for me like Vader is. That's my pick.
That's a good pick. I think Vader's definitely in the top 3 for me, because he basically is the face of Star Wars. Like it's arguably between like Vader and like R2-D2 as far as like most merchandised and recognizable like thing. And so yeah, obviously we're all excited to see him again. I'm so glad they got James Earl Jones back. It's gonna be just unreal hearing him say like new bits of dialogue as Vader, because I've been reading all the Darth Vader comics, which are also great as far as like how they treat him and all the nuance with it. And I'm just like reading all his like little speech bubbles and imagining James Earl Jones's voice, but now I'm actually going to hear it again, saying lines I've never heard before. That's just so exciting. And so yeah, you're right. I can't wait for that. I don't know if it, again, like I think that battle really trumps it for me, but Vader is definitely going to be a thing to look out for. So since as we discussed what we're looking forward to the most, let's ask then the opposite. What are we the most apprehensive about? Jordan, what are you most worried about with Rogue One? What do you think could go wrong? What are you a little iffy with? What's got you worried?
So I kind of have thing is like not about the movie's quality, and I'm worried that I've seen too much in trailers, and that's coming from the perspective of I didn't even watch that 4th trailer that came out that Alex and I never talked about, because I thought I could avoid it, which I have TV spots. But even having seen those main 3 trailers, I still feel like I've gotten a good snippet of every major action sequence of the movie, and I like it when I see that much in trailers and I can piece together kind of the order that things are going to happen in. But about the movie's quality, I guess I'm worried, and was worried, that that it will lack a vision, a singular, strong, focused vision because of studio interference. Parts to be like a war movie and others not. You've made me less worried about that, because I know that for a good chunk of it has that consistency, but still there is some chance that other parts that you didn't see, it will Marvel feeling all of a sudden really quippy and have no stakes, and then the next it's like, oh my God, these soldiers are getting PTSD and it all doesn't mesh together. But it's a worry in my head, if I'm being honest. What about you?
So before I get to what I'm worried about, I just want to address your fear about the trailer spoiling things. I've seen all the trailers, and I thought I saw a lot of it, but even from just the brief minutes I saw, I was surprised multiple times. So I do think there might be, obviously there's some things that like the trailer kind of lays out for you, but even just from what I saw, like I think how they're handling Saw Gerrera is much different than what a lot of people might expect given from the trailers. So keep tuned. I think you'll still be surprised, but still valid depending on like the second act, the third act. If the trailers gave too much of that away, we'll have to wait and find out. My biggest worry is with the pacing and sort of if it being a little too fast paced, a little too choppy. The one thing I didn't like about the half hour I saw is that, especially in the beginning, it was kind of jumping around between a lot of different places really quickly. And I think with like team up movies, that's sort of what you have to do to establish everybody. And I get it. And like even the good ones, like they pull that off. But still, there's always that chance that it doesn't quite mesh as well. If it does feel a little too disjointed, like that's what I mean. There's lots of things that killed Suicide Squad, but definitely that was one of them. Is just how like too thinly spread out it was amongst all the characters. And then even like with the Avengers, it's pretty thinly spread out. It just gets away with it because all the characters were already invested because they already had a movie. So team up movies are always a little tricky to pull off, and so it's the difficulties with that are what I'm probably the most apprehensive about.
Yep. I am. I think that might happen, but they've had quite a few times to nail this. Disney knows how to do team movies, like you just said. So the next one that we're going for here is about character. It's about which one we think we're just gonna walk out saying like, I need to buy this action figure, I need to buy the toys, I need to buy merchandise with this character's face plastered all over them. Alex is always ranting about BB-8 and how he will buy anything that has BB-8's name ingrained on it or whatever. Alex, who do you think you're going to walk out saying that you want to buy their coffee mug?
I guess I'm just a droid fanboy because BB-8 was my big thing in Force Awakens, and K2SO is my big thing for Rogue One. He is a lot of how I wanted him to be, which is like sort of a stiff and awkward C-3PO in terms of like mannerisms, but also like Chewbacca in terms of like being sort of a muscle character. And that's basically what he is. I was right, and we were right about Alan Tudyk being great for the role. I just love him. Like every line he had, I was like laughing my ass off. So I think I'm really looking forward to K2SO. However, the one person who surprised me the most was Cassian Andor. I had like, I don't know why. I thought I had just had really like low expectations of him. I thought he was just sort of like the dude did you see Suicide Squad? You know how there's like that guy.
Rick Flag. Yeah,
exactly. The Rick Flag. I expected him to be like the Rick Flag of the group. He's not the Rick Flag. He has his own agenda, like not his own agenda. He has his own like ways of doing things. That he's not by the book like I thought he was. He wasn't like this like upstanding citizen like I thought he was. And so I think he's going to keep surprising me throughout the film. So he might end up my favorite. Just from what I saw, I think he's a character to really look out for. He surprised me. So between K2SO and Cassian Andor for me. But what about you?
You're right. They give the vibe that Cassian is going to be that stable one, because that is kind of what it is in Magnificent Seven. Sam Chisholm is like they kind of usually have to be the one that's stable, so they can wrangle together all the distinct personality of everybody else. Nick Fury also, like I'm sure you could name countless examples of that. But it's cool to know that they're subverting it, especially because it's trying to pay homage to all those like Magnificent Seven kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Krennic for me, but I thinking about it and talking about earlier in the podcast, I'm gonna have to switch it to Saw Gerrera, because I realized that I always forget that he's part of the team because he's not. He hasn't been featured in the trailers in exactly the same way as everybody else. You don't see him in action as much, deployed like with all the other people running away from all the AT-ATs. Combat skill set is like, and he's the one that has the most history. Having lived through the Clone Wars and having been in other Star Wars material, and like we've talked earlier, like in other podcasts, about the possibility of him having some sort of conversation with Vader. How Vader could remember who he is, and they could have like a moment that really roots Vader in who he used to be. I just got done saying I loved about Rebels, how great they handled him there. And yeah, the thought that Saw Gerrera could enhance that and be a crazy, badass, renegade character in his own right. Most excited for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Like I said, the way that they're handling him is much more interesting than how I originally thought they were going to do it. So I do think he's a good pick. He's a good character to watch out for. And I remember actually, okay, not going to say it, but yeah, Saw Gerrera's cool. What I did see of him was cool. Yeah, he's a good pick. Saw Gerrera. He's going to be cool.
You were about to say something and you saw the sniper rifle red dot on your head and you stopped.
I felt it. It was a little warm. I was like, oh, wait, I forgot about... no, don't say that. But yeah.
Is it me?
I actually... Hold on. No, it's me. Sorry, fucked up. Okay. Cut this part out.
It's all good. I thought so.
Yeah, I thought I asked about the character. No, you're right. Okay. So, now that we talked about characters that we think we're going to love, I have another question for you, and that has to do with The Force Awakens, Jordan. And that is, do you think that you're going to like Rogue One more than The Force Awakens? I think a lot of people are asking this question, so let's tackle that.
No, I don't. And here's why. I think that The Force Awakens was more than a movie to me. It was a cross-generational event. My mom, who introduced me to Star Wars when I was a kid, and my grandparents went to see it on their own as well. Every generation has something in there that they can, like, latch onto, whether it's the old cast, the new cast, and fair to compare really any movie to that in my book, because I'm going to remember seeing Force Awakens forever. I'm going to remember the speculation, how I flew home right after, literally minutes after my last final exam, back to Seattle so I could see it with my family. Rogue One isn't like that. Like, it's no knock on Rogue One, but this one is all new characters. Like, Force Awakens had Leia and it had Han in fairly prominent roles, and this one has Vader, but it's same thing. They're not pitching Vader as the new Obi-Wan of this movie. And all of that being said, it's Rogue One, I think, has a different potential. It doesn't have the potential to like fulfill a cross-generational prophecy of like bringing everybody together, but it's more like it has potential to surprise me. It has the potential to make me feel like how I felt walking out of Kingsman or something like that, where it's just a movie that I really didn't expect anything from, and because it didn't need to do anything for me, I was just going in to enjoy it. And I think in general, when I don't expect as much and when people don't expect as much, you can more enjoy things for what they are. Like, if Rogue One ended up still a pretty kick-ass Star Wars movie, that would, I think for me and a lot of people, that would be more forgivable than Force Awakens, where everyone nitpicks about the tiniest little moments in there.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm there with you. I agree. I like what you said, that it's unfair to compare, because I think a lot of people are unfair. Like, yes, Rogue One is a Star Wars movie, but it's not like the trilogy. See, for me, like one of the big reasons why I love Star Wars is sort of that like mythic hero narrative that runs throughout all the trilogies. And it's very sort of by the books, Joseph Campbell, hero's journey. But I love that. Like, if you watch Kubo and the Two Strings this year, it's basically like the same story, and it's like one of my favorite movies of the year. So like that's just my thing. And Rogue One doesn't have that. Rogue One does feel more like a war movie. It's more of an ensemble piece. It's more gritty. It's more not realistic in that sense, but it's less of that like old style myth storytelling. And so they are almost apples and oranges. They just happen to be in the same fruit salad of Star Wars, I guess is the way to put it. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to enjoy it as much just on that level, just because it's not sort of the same creature. And you're also right. Like the sensation around The Force Awakens was just outrageous. Like you're right. I will remember that. Like probably the rest of my life. I remember getting packed in that theater. All the theaters just sold out for like 3 different showings. Everyone excited, just like, oh my God, it's like Star Wars for the first time in 10 years. Holy crap. I'm sure that's sort of what people felt when Phantom Menace came out. And then unlike Phantom Menace, I don't think as many people were disappointed with this one. Some people have their nitpicks, obviously, but I think the general consensus is that people like it. And so it was really, it was really sort of like, I'm trying to think of a better word, but until then, rewarding to be a part of that sort of big pop culture experience, an event, pop culture event. There we go. So, yeah. But I think you're right, though, that since I have already lower expectations for Rogue One, I'll still probably be more pleasantly surprised with it. It's still probably going to be my movie like of the year of 2016, just because I'm me. But I still think I hold The Force Awakens at a bit higher.
Yeah. I think like my Kingsman comparison isn't exactly perfect because I still expect more. I still expect more from this than the average movie. It's just I expect less than I do from Episode 8, and it doesn't need to set up any other future movies too. That's the other beauty of this movie, is that it could be one and done. They've come out recently and said, Lucasfilm has said Rogue One is not going to have a sequel. There will be no Rogue 2 about the stealing of the Death Star plans for Return of the Jedi or anything like that.
I actually liked what Gareth Edwards said in this little Q&A he did. He said someone asked him, is there going to be a sequel? And he said, oh, there already is a sequel. It's called A New Hope. So
yeah, and that completely makes sense. I heard that too, and I was like, damn, this guy spits game.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our last speculation thing here. We're going to have kind of fun with this one, because the question we wrote down for us both to answer is how we think is going to end. Like how the pieces are going to come together in the last 20 minutes of the movie. Where do you think everything's going to be left at the end of the movie? Speculate blindly. Go.
Okay. So just completely guessing, and I'll preface this by saying, just like from what I've seen, I have no idea how it's going to end. Just throwing that out there. Like I got a good trajectory of like the first and second act of the movie. Third act can still completely surprise me. So just completely guessing. My guess is that big battle on the beach is like the last battle. Like I feel like if you ever played Halo Reach, it's sort of the same scenario where like they have the thing and then they need to fight to get the thing to the other people to run away, and then they're going to have like a last stand to hold the Empire off while like Leia's ship escapes. So maybe we'll actually see Leia, or we'll at least see her ship and like one of her guys with the funny helmets like take the plans and then they take off. And then I believe that's shot in the trailer with like Jyn Erso like walking on like a scaffold and there's like lots of wind in her face and the TIE fighter pops up. My guess is that's near like the very end. And my guess is that like that's Vader's tie and he just pops up and he walks out. And I feel like watching our characters confront Vader, and that's the one time Vader does anything like action wise. And maybe I think that would be powerful if there wasn't a lightsaber at all until like the very end. And then you really appreciate how powerful the Jedi are by seeing all the soldiers on the ground fight, and then see like a Jedi or Sith Lord at the end really stand above them all. And
Vader doesn't fly that TIE fighter though. He has he has the Interceptor.
I know. I'm hoping his got like shot and then he gets like a red soul. Probably not going to happen. You're right. But that's, like I said, crazy speculating. Wouldn't that be like, oh no, that's just a regular TIE fighter. Plot twist. Vader got a new one. No. I don't know.
In A New Hope, it's getting repaired by insurance, and then by the end, he has it again.
Yeah, or maybe he was flying, or actually, no, was he? Maybe he was flying like a regular one. I forget. Does he fly his actual TIE fighter in Rebels, or does he have a regular one in Rebels?
He flies his interceptor. It's the same as in A New Hope.
Then never mind. I thought maybe he like A New Hope. He got it. Like it was like the Death Star variant. No, okay. So maybe that's not his TIE fighter, but just fun to think about. Either way, I think that big battle is going to be the end. They're going to hand it off to Leia. She's going to go, and I think some of the characters are going to die in that big battle, and I think some of them are going to like flee and maybe go into hiding. I don't think less people are thinking all of them are going to die. I don't think all of them. I definitely think at least one or two, maybe even three. But I do think at least one is going to survive, and it'll be like their POV as it ends. So that's how I think Rogue One is going to end.
Yeah, that's totally apt too, because Magnificent Seven, that's exactly what happens. Like a few die. Not everybody dies, as you might think is going to happen, but definitely a few bite it, and then the rest kind of flee. I guess it's different because the war isn't continuing after that, so they just go their separate ways. What you would think? I heard this speculated sometime recently. Do you think it would make sense and be cool if K2SO was the only character in this to make it out and possibly appear in like a very small way in like episode 8, because droids can live forever?
Huh. You know, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I love K2SO, so just having him still be around would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like the possibility of him showing up in episode 8 or 9, that would be an interesting way to tie it in. Like a lot of people want God, I hate the theory. Have you heard the theory going around that all of the Rogue One people are the Knights of Ren? Like, oh, I hate that theory.
I literally just like had to argue against that theory to somebody the other day. I can't stand it.
I was on the shuttle, like on the way to go watch the 30 minutes, and the people behind me were talking about that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I could see that." And it's like it was like boiling my nerd blood. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But but K2SO, you're right. That would make sense. Droids live forever, as we can see with C-3PO and R2-D2 still kicking around. So I think if there was a character to show up again in like the current timeline, it would be K2SO.
Yes. And a lot of what I was going to say, I think it's going to end is similar to yours. Like I think we're going to have it leading into Leia's ship escaping, but I wanted to add that I also think we're going to see how Vader gets where he is at the beginning of A New Hope. Really tie it all in a bow to make this movie feel like it leads in, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, seconds before A New Hope. I think the best way to do that is to show that scene, the classic Star Wars opening scene where the Star Destroyer overtakes Leia's rebel ship, synonymous with Star Wars, the Rebels, and the Empire. I think seeing that scene from maybe a different angle, like you see it from in atmosphere of whatever planet they're on, instead of just from the typical shot, be nerd heaven for me. And it just occurred to me. I also think it would be great if we weren't seeing the in atmosphere thing, if we saw one of the last things we saw was Vader from the other side of that door before he goes through the door. And we just see all the like detonations that cause all that smoke, and then he just walks through, and that's like the last we see of Vader. You see the first moment that Vader has ever appeared in a movie from the other side of it, from like a behind.
That would be really cool. That's really cool. I was thinking more like it would end with like him in like the cockpit of like the death of the Star Destroyer as it's flying from. So instead of like feeling like we're with the rebels being pursued, we feel like the Empire doing the pursuit. But I think having like all those detonations and then he just like walks out and he sees all the rebels there, that'd be a really effective, a little bit of a downer, but I guess we know what happens, so it's okay. I think they could get away with it. Yeah. To just like have all those like, crap in their pants rebels looking at Vader and that just being the end. So yeah. I think that would be an impacting way for them to drop the mic.
Yes. I wanted to throw three things. Do you think we could see R2, C3PO? Talked about Leia, like helping Leia's ship escape. Do you think that
Hmm.
entails like seeing some girl from a distance that vaguely resembles Leia getting onto a ship, or like hearing a voice or anything like that?
I I don't think we're going to get Leia. I don't think we're going to get a young Leia. Um, I think the most we'd get is like her ship and some like people who represent her. Because even when she's captured in New Hope, she's trying to like fake it, like, oh no, I'm totally not running with plans. I'm on a diplomatic mission. So maybe we don't even see like her ship yet. Maybe we see like a ship that goes to her ship to like have that plausible deniability. I don't know. I do think if we see the handoff of the plans, then seeing R2 or C3PO would be a good chance. I think that they're really easy to sort of throw up there and be believable. I feel like people would have been buzzing about like a potential casting for a young Leia at this point, or way back when. So I don't think we'll get Leia. I think maybe possibility for R2 and C3PO.
Hmm. That's what's tough about having Rogue One take place so close to A New Hope is that everybody was
Mm-hmm.
speculating also like, oh, we're gonna see a Han Solo cameo in this movie. And it's like if you're saying that we're gonna get a Han Solo cameo, you're saying that the Alden Ehrenreich Han Solo is the Harrison Ford Han Solo.
Yeah.
Matter of days until he's in the cantina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
You could
I disagree with that.
that he's Han Solo, 15 years before that or something like that, but not days before that. I'm not going to be able to buy that continuity.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Leia. The reason I was wondering about R2 and C3PO is that yeah, if we are going to see that rebel ship, Revenge of the Sith told us that they are same rebel ship for that entire period of time. Like
Mm-hmm.
the interim, because George wanted everybody to be exactly where they were in A New Hope right after Revenge of the
Mm-hmm.
Sith. So I guess they hung out with the rebellion for a while, just kind of with
Assigned to
Bail
that
Organa,
spaceship.
and
Yeah,
I guess
just
that
hanging
makes
out.
sense.
Yeah, I mean that's technically what the droids do on like in their default state is hang out on spaceships that they're assigned to. So
They actually are supposed to help, unlike C3PO, who just complains and criticizes people.
yeah, or like R2 just like takes action into their own hands, or R2's equivalent of hands, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, everybody, that is it for our speculation and our predictions and our worries and everything that we feel about Rogue One. Um, Episodes we'll have will almost certainly just be a review of Rogue One, like just us talking about after we see it. What do we think of it? What questions do we have coming out of it? Theories. We'll have theory episodes. We'll have lots of stuff because I've said it before. It's not every day that you get a new Star Wars movie. Isn't that right, Alex?
Nope, it's once a year now. It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas. But it's really crazy. This like we've been talking about Rogue One for like, ever since we've been starting this thing, and now it's finally here. This is the last pre Rogue One episode that we're doing of Tosche Station. After this, it's post Rogue One, and it's like pre episode 8. So moving on to the future, and I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So, everybody, thank you for listening. That does it for this week of Tashi Station. Check us out on Facebook. And anything you want to say?
No, just go see Rogue One. Let us know what you think about it. It's gonna be good. Trust me, it's gonna be good. Let's catch you last. Catch you next time.
All right, see ya. I almost just pressed the leave call button
I
like
know.
last time. I'm so it's like in my muscle memory. I'm like and end call, but no, that's the
Okay.
leave.
So then I can just stop this broadcast. If I stop the broadcast, does that close the whole thing or just make us go offline?
It just ends the YouTube video.
Well then here we go.